Breadbox Media programming is brought to you by Jack Kane Ford. Find your next Ford Tough vehicle at caneford.com. Woodhill Community Center. Have a hand in the heart of the city. Support their mission with your donations at woodhillcommunitycenter.org. Toyota in Nicholasville Superstore. Online consultants are standing by right now to help you find your next Toyota. Visit toyotaonnicholasville.com. Lexus of Lexington, home of the best-selling Lexus IS. Find yours today at lexusoflexington.com. Introducing the redesigned CatholicSingles.com, featuring new ways that put the spotlight on the person and their faith, not just a profile picture. For the past 20 years, faithful Catholics have used CatholicSingles.com, and the reimagined CatholicSingles.com website is ready to help single Catholics take the next step in sharing meaningful relationships with other faithful Catholics. Remember, CatholicSingles.com for faith, fellowship, and love.
Well, hey, friends, and welcome back to another episode of Lisa, Hendey, and Friends. Happy summer. I am so happy to be back behind the microphone after a couple of weeks on the road. You came along with me to Massachusetts for the beautiful, venerable Patrick Peyton celebration that we were able to go to. And then last week I was in Green Bay, Wisconsin at the Catholic Media Convention, which is always a great time to connect with other Catholic communicators. But I'll tell you the truth, I am thrilled to be back home in Southern California this week. And I'm also thrilled that my guest for this week's podcast is not only someone I greatly admire, but she's also a dear friend as well. We welcome to the show today my friend, Jennifer Willits. And Jennifer is the co-author of a great book, The Catholics Next Door, Adventures in Imperfect Living. And she's the president of newevangelizers.com. Right now, actually, Jennifer co-hosts the one of my favorite podcasts, frankly, Adventures in Imperfect Living with her husband, Greg. The only problem with that podcast is that it doesn't come out every day. So welcome to the show, my friend. And hopefully your new friend too, Jennifer Willits. Hey, Jennifer.
Hi, Lisa. Thank you so much for having me on your show. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm sure any podcast listener who listens to this little teeny tiny Lisa, Hendey, and Friends already subscribes to Adventures in Imperfect Living. And they're probably sitting there in their head right now having sort of this like weird moment where it's like universes collide and two podcasters' voices are in their heads at the same time. But Jennifer, for anybody that doesn't already know you, how do you kind of basically introduce yourself to friends?
Well, interestingly enough, it's I don't know why I don't ever lead with I am a podcaster and an author. I almost identify myself more from a family point of view. Like, okay, I'm a mother of 5, and I've been married for over, well over 20 years, because to me, those are my bigger identifying sort of traits. Are those that I just happen to podcast about those things, but I am passionate about helping people and inspiring people and hoping that I can do my little part in leading them to Christ. And I also am just super in love with Mary, our Blessed Mother, and the Rosary, and I've really come a long way in growing in my own love and understanding of those teachings of our beautiful Catholic faith. And I just, oh my gosh, how do you ever describe yourself? I mean, I guess I just try to lead with a sense of joy, and I want people, when they look at me, to notice that I'm a very happy person, and hopefully I will inspire them to want a bit of that happiness, and then I can tell them how I'm happy and why I'm happy.
I love that. Always be ready to give an answer, right? 1 Peter 3:15. Yeah. So Jennifer, it's funny that you say that, because like Greg gets mad at me because when I'm asked to introduce myself, my thing is usually I'm a wife and a mom, and then Greg will say, well, tell them all the rest of the stuff that you do too. But I'm like, that's the most important stuff. So I think that's why we're friends, because we kind of are along the same wavelength. Well, I mean, I am really a Greg and Jennifer Willits groupie, and I can say that when I look at the work that I've done in my life, I could actually kind of like crystallize many of my accomplishments directly to you guys. And I know I've told you this in the past, but I really think that your foray into Catholic new media, and specifically your podcast and inviting others to be a part of the podcasting realm, helped to lead to my books and really to, you know, a lot of the blessings that I've had. So thanks for that, and for the gift of your friendship. And this is a really amazing time for you guys. So just kind of bring everybody up to speed on where the two of you are we're going to talk about some of your specific projects, but how you find yourself right now in your ministry work.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you for those lovely comments, and I'm so grateful to have played a small role in inspiring you and just basically allowing you to sort of reconnect to your own unique gifts and talents that you cooperated with, because I truly believe we were all created with unique talents and gifts that only we possess as individuals. Now, it's just our own willingness to cooperate with them and to embrace confidence and to be bold and to just do something and try something. And so for a moment, you spoke about what I like to refer to as the glory days of podcasting. So this is in the early 2000s, right around 2005, between 2005 and 2008, where there was a real upswing in this momentum of this technology of podcasting and how it can play a positive role in sharing your faith. And not just your faith, but the details of your life in such a way that has an impact on listeners. And the kind of friendships and the sense of community that was created in those years was just tremendous and impactful. And we are still kind of floating, even today, off of the momentum that was started precisely at that time frame. And I just think of all the fruit that was born from those handful of years that I will always look back fondly and smile on those days, and to look at where people have continued and where they've arrived at now professionally and personally in their lives, that started with movement that began with this online new media, Catholic media creation and the momentum. Now, what has happened since then has been a lot of ups and downs, because while Greg and I were very actively involved in promoting our faith and our family and just our idea of imperfection, but always striving and fumbling toward holiness, when we were actively promoting that, we were at a particular season in our family's life. We were still, our children, our 5 children, were still relatively young, and we had a lot of responsibilities, and sometimes those responsibilities would direct what kind of work we were able to do. So there was a time when we were fully on board and creating Catholic content exclusively. That was our full-time job. But as our family continued to grow and the demands of running the household became very significant, we had to break away from full-time ministry and then pursue more regular, traditional type of salaried work so that we could, raise our family. We just had to be practical. And at that moment, there was a real, not a falling away or falling back off of the media creation, but it just changed. And not in a bad way. It allowed us to grow spiritually and personally, so that I think we can come back stronger at some point in the future. Our family has had the privilege of going through many unique trials that ultimately have shaped us and helped to form our own characters. It forced us to ask real, clarifying questions about how we define happiness, where we put all of our trust, where our hearts are, why are we doing what we're doing? What do we really believe in? Why do we believe in those things? We spent the next 10, 12 years really tackling those big life questions. And now, in this last year, we are in a brand new place. And I'm very excited about where we are, because in a way it feels like the Glory Days 2.0. Like it's almost a reinventing, a reigniting of something that started over 15 years ago. But now Greg and Jennifer are older and wiser, and we have greater clarity with what we want. And so because of those game-changing traits, I'm very excited about our direction and our future. And what other services and products and inspirations we can hopefully bring to our audience. It's just really exciting where we are today. And in fact, on January 1, or maybe it was December 31st, I remember distinctly I was sitting with Mac and Catherine in their studio where Greg and I were what's that term where you cross over? We're doing a crossover podcast between Catholic in a Small Town and Adventures in a Perfect Living. And we were talking about our New Year's resolutions. Now, granted, I did not fully know what 2018 was going to hold, and I didn't see any of the trials that we were about to get hit with. Okay, I was still optimistic and hopeful. That in my hope, I said, this is going to be the year of success. And I don't know really why I said it, but I proclaimed it on that show, and it's recorded, and those words are out there, and I cannot retract them. And I said, this is going to be the year of success. But I couldn't really define it or see how it was going to be. I just knew that it was going to be. And then a week or two later, our lives turned upside down in the most frightful of ways, and we were immediately faced with a mental health issue crisis that was very significant, and we were now all about kind of like a survive. Survive this next chapter of life. And we knew that we had to stop everything and really focus on healing and getting better. And what will this mean going forward? So it was a real shaking of the core moment. Not only that hit Greg significantly and profoundly, but it affected the entire family unit. I mean, any wife will know that if the husband is taken down, it will have an effect on the wife, and vice versa. If the wife is undergoing a terrible calamity of the sort, it will affect the husband. So we knew something big was going down, and we had to really lean hard on God during this trial. And in all of that turmoil that we were going through, we still felt compelled to hope and trust and create. We just knew, because that's kind of how Greg and I are wired up. We just love to create things of value for other people. That's the gift we feel we've been given, and we draw happiness from cooperating with that gift.
Well, Jennifer, one thing, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but one thing that strikes me about this, and for listeners who who aren't intricately familiar with your life, I really want to recommend that you do check out Adventures in Imperfect Living. It's a podcast that's immediately compelling no matter where you dive in. But one thing that, Jennifer, that you guys do, I think, and you do it so beautifully, is you're very, we know, any of us who create Catholic media, that we can be transparent and also not share every intimate detail of our life. But you guys really invited those of us who are your friends and those who consume your work into this journey with you. And so there were times where the sharing was almost, painful for listeners, not because it was hard to listen to, from an audio perspective or whatever, but because we bond with you. It's one of the intricate things about this work that we do that, folks may never have met you in person, and yet they're devoted to you and they know and love you. And so how was it to kind of be so transparent about what you were going through earlier this year?
Well, and again, the real transparency, the source of the transparency that you're referring to, really can be found in episode 210 of Adventures of Imperfect Living, and it's titled The Hidden Battle. That was sort of the show where we came clean and revealed a real struggle with mental health that was affecting Greg, my husband. And it was difficult to sort of make that decision of, okay, are we going to do this? Are we going to share this with our audience? Sort of the reality of what it's like, for my husband, and also indirectly for what I'm going through as his wife, who has to play more of a supportive role to him in helping him get through his struggle with overcoming mental illness. And it was scary at first, but I felt very confident in that it felt right. I had a peace that was very significant and noticeable. So I have already learned that whenever I feel peace about something, that it's sort of an affirmation to take the next step toward that. And Greg also felt peace about sharing this, because we knew that we were not alone, that there are others out there who also struggle with depression and anxiety and have really been impacted by those mental situations that they feel powerless in, and they feel disempowered every day, and they often don't know where hope will come from or how do you make this better somehow. And when Greg took the chance to just sort of share the truth of what happened and why things may have gone the way they have, people responded in such a huge way. We received so many emails from that one episode where people just understood that road, that they understood that pain, and they wanted to pledge their prayers and support. And they said, listen, thank you so much for saying what needed to be said or for articulating what I didn't know how to say. And, oh, my gosh, I've been dealing with depression and anxiety for 10 years, and it feels so good to hear that I'm not alone. And people will bond. You know, unfortunately, we want people to bond through joy and celebration, but we also bond through misery. We bond in our pain and in our suffering. It's a huge area of bonding. And so moments like that really helped our audience to sort of connect with us and we with them. And so it was an opportunity for us to get to know a little bit more of our audience and what they hurt, what makes them feel pain. And from there was a natural evolution to want to provide a solution. And in the providing of the solution for somebody else, you personally benefit from that. So Greg and I were also healing while helping others. And I've heard this from psychologists and other, blogs about, mental health, that the best way to feel better is actually to help somebody else. And in the helping of somebody else, you ultimately are helping yourself. And
so that's where you find your success.
Yeah. Yes, you take the focus off of your pain and misery, and you just focus it on helping somebody to feel better. And there is such truth in that. So we thought, well, what can we do? We need to stop focusing so much on our own sorrow and our own brokenness. We have to shift our focus to something better. And out of that, now we're looking we're in January, February of 2018, when we were having more of these sort of revelations, if you will, when we decided to just put more focus into a new product that we wanted to offer for the Rosary Army Ministry, which is an apostolate that we've been running since the year 2003. So this is our longest running nonprofit ministry that we have been. I mean, I feel humbled just to be the guardian of such a ministry, in that I get to run this. I get to manage it. I feel very, very blessed that it is in my imperfect hands, because I am, in no means a perfect leader, but I love it, and I take it seriously, and I want it to be the best that it can be. And I love Rosary Army. And so basically what Rosary Army is, in a nutshell, is an online source where you can learn all about the Rosary, and it promotes the Rosary, and it distributes online digital rosaries in addition to physical all twine knotted rosaries. And this is the place where you go. And most people by now, and this has surprised me, have at least heard of Rosary Army once. It's taken 15 years to get that kind of, household name. But in Catholic circles, most people have at least heard of Rosary Army once. And
indelibly in their brain is make them, pray them, give them away.
That's right. That's the motto. Make them, pray them, give them away. And so it has been so cool to be a part of this ministry and of growing it to the point where it has spread that far. But I can't take credit for that, because I just got to give it all to Mary. She can do whatever she wants to do with anything. And I just love that I get to be a part of this ride and this experience. But I always feel that, well, can I do more? I think Greg and I are regularly asking ourselves, but what else can we do? And is there more we can do, and can we do what we're already doing any better? We just like to keep pushing and pushing and pushing. We never just want to just acclimate to what we do. And I don't want to plateau. I want to keep growing and scaling upward. So finally, Greg, he really pushed me one day, and and sometimes, your own spouse can just say something, and he just lights a fire into you, and you don't really know why it works that day and why it couldn't on others. But for some reason, he says, you know what? We need to make an app. He just said it plain as day. We need to make an app. I'm like, okay, well, You
just make
sound
that
really
happen,
convicted
Jennifer.
by this. Yeah, like, but can you back this up with something? Like, why now? Like, in light of everything, the struggling we're going through, why would we do this today? And he goes, well, and he presented some pretty compelling arguments. And it really had a lot to do with the audio recordings of the rosaries that we created in the early 2000s. Right around 2005 to 2006, we decided to record all mysteries of the rosary and make them available through iTunes or on the website, rosaryarmy.com, for people to just download or listen to streaming if they wanted to pray the rosary with some other voices. And we took the time to try to record it very well. We took it seriously, and we're very proud of that work. And I know that it was well received because when we sign on to our Listen, which basically is that online service that stores the audio files themselves, they count how many times it's been downloaded. And it's been downloaded millions of times now over the years, millions, like upwards of 9 million. It's crazy huge number. And if I were to sit and think, you mean to tell me that rosary that Greg and I recorded in a master bedroom closet all those years ago with those little microphones, 9 million people have heard? What? That is crazy. But what Mary can do is amazing with just the most humble of things, And so the issue that came with that was because online media is you lose a little bit of control once you submit it to the internet. And it's very easy for other people to take said recordings and do what they want to do with it. And we started to see this trend of other Catholic products being created for profit that were taking our audio recordings and they were embedding them into other people's products, and then they were monetarily benefiting from those creations that they didn't even have permission to use in the first place. Like, they were just basically illegally taking our product and using it for their personal gain. And I thought, oh, come on now. You're going to do this with the rosary of all five?
You're going to pirate prayers.
Right. Yeah, they're pirating the prayers. And I get it. The rosary, can I claim the rosary as mine? I mean, no, I can't. But what I can claim is that production is mine. That work product is mine. I don't own the words. I just own the production of the words. And we all have to play by a certain set of rules when you're dealing with online files, online productions, online media. You just have to, there's a code of morals that you should follow. There's a bit of honesty out there. And so we decided to basically step up a little bit and take what was already our production and put it into our own product and see if there is a way that Rosary Army could financially benefit from that. Because it is a ministry, it does require funds to exist.
Right,
and
absolutely.
We needed a way to sort of not negate the need for a fundraiser, but I'm going to be honest, I don't like fundraisers. I don't like asking for money. I don't know, that whole thing is really difficult for me. I would rather just create something that was a valuable product to someone. They would purchase it, and all the proceeds just go to benefit a ministry. And that way, it takes me out of it.
Right, and you're providing a service. So let's talk about the app for a minute, because it's been out for a few months now. I was really blessed to have an early look at it. And Jennifer, I have to say that one reason that I'm such a firm believer in this app is that, a lot of us have a devotion to the rosary, and yet maybe I'm going to get fired from Catholic podcasting for this, but I find it very hard to pray the rosary on my own. And so using the app and actually particularly praying with you guys when I pray the rosary has been just such a great blessing for me over the years. And now I have it on my phone where I can take it, right when I go out for a walk or whatever. So kind of walk people through what is specifically in the app, and also share a little bit about Greg's beautiful artwork and how that's unveiling here too.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, the Rosary Army app, once we kind of fought through the overall development and design of what the app would be. First, an app must know its purpose in order to be a good app. It can't be confusing. It must know what it is and then be that very well. So I had to really examine, well, what is the strength of what Rosary Army, what is the most popular thing that Rosary Army offers? And hands down, it was the audio recordings of the rosaries. So I knew the app had to be that somehow, but what would it be? Because everybody has an idea of what an app is on their mobile device. It's some kind of a tool that they use to gain something. It has to follow that basic protocol. And so I knew that one of our strengths was the audio recordings of the rosary. So I thought, okay, well, I'm going to stick with that. And I want this app to be sort of like the premier audio version of the rosary recording. And we're going to re-record it, make all new recordings. We have better recording ethics now that Greg and I have over 15 years experience in this field, both in regular radio, satellite radio, and just podcasting. We kind of know what we're doing by now. And so we were in a better position to remaster the entire production and also create something new, which is something that I wanted to be exclusively just in the app. And that was basically a recording of the full rosary prayer. Now, you might be a little confused by the term. Well, what do you mean full? Like when you pray an entire joyful mystery, isn't that a full rosary? But in this sense, I mean full with all 4 sets of the rosaries prayed in one rosary prayer. So it would begin with a chronological life of Christ through the mysteries. It would start with the joyful, then immediately once you say the 5th joyful mystery, the finding of the child Jesus in the temple, you would go right into the first luminous mystery, and then you would progress to the entire luminous, and then go right into the sorrowful mystery. And as soon as the 5th sorrowful mystery is stated, you would go right into the first glorious mystery. So all 20 mysteries are prayed in one rosary. So it's the entire life of Christ meditation in one sitting. And that rosary file was next to impossible to find produced in audio form on the internet today. So with that in mind, I decided to create one myself because we have the skills, we have the knowledge, we have the ability, so we did it, and we made it available on the Rosary Army app. So what this does is when you sitting and listening to the audio rosaries, it does a couple of things. One, it allows you as the listener to relax a little bit because now you're being led. You're kind of being guided through the meditation so that you don't have to worry about counting. You don't have to worry about, okay, was I in the first or was that the third? And was this a joyful? Okay, where am I? It's just so easy to lose your mental place because our minds are so busy. We have to multitask more than ever before. We have conditioned our minds for quick hits of information very quickly, especially if you spend a lot of time online. We are scanning and processing more information now than we have ever. In the last 20 years, it's just this incredible upswing of mental processing and demand on our brains. So that now our brains are just tired faster. They are a little weak in some areas because we can't control its focus very well, and so we need a little help. So I wanted this app to be that help, to make it a little easier for people so that they are free to meditate more and not worry about the heavy lifting, but can participate in the prayer in hopefully a more profound way. And we have heard nothing but compliments from people. Thank goodness. We're very fortunate to have received so many 5-star reviews on this app that people have loved going out walking with this app so they can just pray and do something good for their body and do something good for their spirit at the same time. People love to multitask, but in a way that I feel doesn't take away from the beauty of the prayer. And in many ways, they're more mentally free to go deeper to the life of Christ. And that's what we wanted this app to do, was to really aid people in that way. And in addition to providing the audio companion to praying the rosary, I wanted to give the users of the app something beautiful to see, because I, as one who prayed the rosary many times, I like to see something. I like to see something that's going to keep me more mentally anchored in what I'm praying, because out of the 5 natural senses that we have between sight, hearing, taste, touch, and smell, the more of those senses that you can connect to one activity, the more rooted you're going to be in that activity. So, okay, we have the ears down. We got the ears taken care of, through hearing, yeah. But what about your eyes? If we don't control what your eyes are looking at, then your eyes are going to pull you right out of the fray. You're going to notice something, you're going to see something, and then boom, you're going to be pulled right out. So I thought, okay, what can the app offer visually for the user? So I knew that I wanted artwork because I believe art, good Catholic art, really inspires and lifts you, and it just speaks to you on such a deep, profound level. And so I knew I wanted art to be a part of this app. So I thought, okay, how do I go about finding art that's basically follows the same kind of a theme? I didn't want it to be like a very modern art piece versus a very classical art piece. And I wanted a similar theme all throughout all 20 mysteries. So I wasn't sure how I was going to go about finding art that I would have permission to use. And it was just really tricky to figure out how was I going to find this art. And then I realized, well...
And then you rolled over in bed and looked at the person next to you.
Right. My husband does have a lot of artistic ability, and he does love, painting religious art, and he does love Mary. So I thought, I'm just going to ask him. I mean, the worst he could say is no. So I challenged him to creating custom digital art specifically to be used in the Rosary Army app. I wanted one picture for each mystery of the Rosary, so I would need 20 unique and custom art pieces that would be digitally created, and that, therefore, there would be a nice, clean, and beautiful, vibrant representation on everyone's mobile device. That's what I wanted. And thankfully, he said yes.
Yeah, and you've accomplished this beautiful tool. It's really beautiful.
Now, I'm so pleased to hear you say that, and we are loving the compliments that we are getting on the initial art that has been submitted on the first release of this app. Now, not all 20 are there yet because it does take time to build each image, but as time goes on, we get closer to another one being created. There's already one complete that's not included on the current version of the app, so on the next official update, we will upload all Luminous Mystery artwork. So I'm waiting for the entire Luminous Mysteries to be completed before it will go into the next release. So those who already have the app, that's what you can expect next. And for those who are considering downloading the app right now, that's why you'll only see a partial view. It's just what's available now, and over time, as my husband creates them, they will all be added in successive updates, which is actually good for the app. From what I've been told from my developer, it's good to have a reason to update your app because people like feeling like their app is changing and getting better over time. So it's not good to release all bells and whistles on the first release because then you've got nothing left to change. So I felt confident with our strategy of just giving the joyful set is there now within the sprinkled others. But now I've got more reason to change and add more beauty over time. So the artwork is there to allow the user to gaze upon them, think about what they notice in the picture. They're hearing the words, and then they're holding it in their hand. So I guess you could say the sense of touch is also engaged in the rosary praying experience.
Yeah, I have a tendency when I'm praying with it to actually set my phone aside and to actually hold a rosary. Just because if I'm holding my phone and I get like a notification or something, my powers of will are sometimes not strong enough. One of my other favorite parts of the rosary is, or the rosary app is just this section that you have where it's called Read Them. And it's actually the fruits of the Holy Spirit, something about the 15 promises, the history of the Holy Spirit, or the Holy Rosary. And then, of course, the prayers in case maybe you're not that familiar with praying the rosary. And also this beautiful scriptural tie-in that really shows how the rosary is not just like a rote, repetitive prayer, but really a deep meditation on scripture. So, Jennifer, oh my gosh, definitely, folks, check out the Rosary Army app. And we're going to have a link in our show notes to this. One thing I'll say, and I know you have to say this every time in your podcast, that it's coming to Android soon. Right now, now it's an iOS app only, but Android folks, your version is coming very, very, very soon. So definitely wait for that. And Jennifer, we only have you for a couple more minutes, so I want to just follow up real quickly on this other newest exciting project that you guys have. Actually, it's kind of like twofold. You've got Exceptional Together and Exceptional You. So what is this all about?
Well, like I said, we always ask the question, what else can we be doing? Because we're never just satisfied with the one thing. And once the app really came to a place of fulfillment and it was launched and released to the world, that freed up my time to now join my husband on some other pursuits about other passions that we also have. And this actually stems a little bit more from his personal journey with struggling with depression and anxiety. And the more we were allowed to sort of see and face the realities of why depression and anxiety even exist, as we were really diving into sort of like the root of Greg's problems, if you will, and why we all have a root. We all have a core where all of our beliefs sort of stem from. They're just that sort of represents our whole life experience. We learn so much about the way the human mind works and how we can participate in the healing of our mental states if we just knew what to do. And I thought, wow, the stuff that we're learning, from Greg's unique trial and experience, we could basically teach others this stuff too, so that they too can have a greater chance at controlling when they feel happy rather than waiting for it to happen randomly or by chance. Like, I think we could do something here. So we started with the idea of really organizing and researching and reading and talking to people and educating ourselves in how we can basically design a new video online series that educates people on how they can manage basically their mental states so that they can have a hand in creating their idea of success and happiness going forward, that there is something that they can do, that they are not helpless. And so the first group of people that we felt the most moved to help immediately were other married couples, because Greg and I value our marriage. That's one of the pillars of our Adventures in Imperfect Living podcast is our married life, and we share a great amount of our experiences in our marriage, all good and bad, so that we can inspire others to stay the course and to pursue, holiness inside their marriages. So we wanted to target this group first because Greg and I are not just satisfied with having a good marriage. When I know and he knows we can have something better than good. Well, what's better than good? Well, we decided it would be called exceptional. So we feel we have a good marriage, but we know it can be better. I mean, I want to be able to say we have an exceptional marriage all the time. So how can I go from good to exceptional? And so we wrote down, we basically designed an entire curriculum, if you will, that was meant for married couples to go through these video courses that we've designed so that they can learn where they're starting from, like what they bring to the table in their marriage, and how to build from there as a couple so that they can avoid the pain that they are feeling and embrace more pleasure and joy in the life that they want together. And what's interesting, what we found from our surveys of our listeners, especially those who are married, they desire two things: greater communication between themselves as husband and wife, and greater love and intimacy, because there's some, miscommunication there too. And thirdly, a greater spirituality, like a greater union of their Catholic faith together as a couple. So they have all stepped up and identified these were the pain points. So Greg and I designed this course to target those known pains so that they can finally feel like they are having success in the areas that were previously disempowering them. And I have to say, it is going awesome. They are having a great time with the course. We've had a great time with them. We launched our first Exceptional Together course for married people in May, and we're going to launch a brand new session in July. And so we took the products that we launched in May, and now we are sort of refortifying it, building it up, and now we're going to make it come stronger, better. And in July, it's going to be amazing.
And it'll be like a 2.0, where you'll take what you gained from the experience of running it the first time with some slight tweaks and stuff. But not everybody that follows you guys or that wants to benefit from this is married. So now you have this even newer program, Exceptional You, that's really aimed at for anyone. And what I really like about this is just this idea of, I mean, we can all kind of set goals in our lives or whatever, but I do think that kind of making an investment towards actually achieving the resolutions that you set for yourself actually helps us to accomplish what our goals are. So tell us about Exceptional You.
Exactly. I mean, you really just nailed it on the head there, Lisa. What we learned from Exceptional together, what we've heard from those who wanted to take the course, but they were struggling with finding availability in not just their schedule, but their schedule combined with the schedule of their spouse. And it was just too difficult to try to meet that. So that was basically the motivation to create Exceptional You was to sort of lift that limiting filter off of people who just wanted to take it as an individual. They can be married, so it's not that you must be single now. You just need to be willing to take this course alone. You have to have the motivation and the desire and the will to want to at least start with changing the one thing you can control, and that's you. Now, you can't control your spouse's schedule, but you can control yours. So this course was designed to be taken by an individual, regardless of their state in life. You just have to be willing you have to be ready to work and ready to change and to desire it, to be frustrated with where you are, to yearn for a greater outcome in your life. And that's exactly what we're looking for. Those are the people we're looking for, those who are ready to work and are committed to the process of making a personal transformation that can benefit all aspects of their life. We're talking personal satisfaction, professional satisfaction, even in their faith. So that's why we're not billing this as Catholic 2.0, how to be an exceptional Catholic. That's not what this course is. But what you will get from this course are principles that you can apply into your Catholic faith that make you a better Catholic. But we have to start with where you're at, and not everybody is there. Not everybody is ready for advanced Catholicism, and some people are still trying to figure out how they feel about God in the first place. So we have to start with the foundation and the core of the individual and build them up from where they are. And the great thing about this course is that once you register and you gain access to it, you have access to the course materials for 1 year. But we are capping it at 1 year, because if we leave it open-ended forever, it's almost like giving something away for free. You don't have the buy-in. You don't have a sense of urgency. You have nothing really compelling you or pushing you.
You can procrastinate. Yeah, so I love that.
Exactly.
Well, Jennifer, the time with you always goes by so quickly, and I can't believe it. I'm already to the end of the time that we have you with us, but there's so much more to be discovered about all of what we've been talking about today. So give us a shout out of the few places that would be great places online. We'll have all the links in our show notes at the website, but just in case somebody's listening and they just want to click over right now on their phone, where's the best kind of catch-all place to go and grab all this updated information?
Okay, well, the first thing is, if you are interested in downloading your copy of the Rosary Army app and you want to just remind yourself of what's in the app, what are the features, just go to app.rosaryarmy.com, and it is the page that is dedicated just to that app with all the links on where you can get it and what devices will run that app for now. So app.rosaryarmy.com. Also, if you want to find out more about the Exceptional Together or Exceptional You courses and when they are available, just go to gregandjennifer.com. All of our current, products and services and everything is on that page, gregandjennifer.com. You'll also find links to our podcast from there. Our blog is there, but definitely all of our webinar video courses are all sitting over there. And we're so excited to launch this. We're excited for more people to go through their own personal transformations. And again, Lisa, I can't thank you enough for having me on your show and giving me a chance to share this with your audience, because I do believe they are all worthy and exceptional. Just for being on a listener to your show has already sets them apart.
Well, Jennifer, like I said, I'm personally so grateful for so many things, but especially on a show called Lisa, Hendey and Friends, I'm most grateful for your friendship. And I just really want to say to you and Greg that the many ways in which you share not only, the highs of your relationship and the moments that are the pinnacle, the peak moments, but also the trials of life, and your honesty and transparency, your good humor and your creativity. It just blesses us so much. So I can't wait to watch now that you can devote yourselves full time to just blessing us with so many gifts. I can't wait to see what's going to come next. So will you come on again in the future and give us an update, maybe in like 6 months or so, about what's new? Because I know there's going to be something new.
I would absolutely love to do that. Yes, you just ask and I will be there.
Awesome. and being a native of Fort Wayne, Indiana, my heart is with your current living place. So I hope I get to visit you guys again really soon in person. Friends, that is the end of yet another episode of Lisa, Hendey and Friends. I can't encourage you enough to just check out these resources, to definitely subscribe to Greg and Jennifer's podcast, to grab the app, and most importantly, to check out Exceptional You. Really, for anyone who's out there, this is a program for you, regardless of your age or vocation in life or where you are in your own process. God is calling you to something amazing, really to something truly exceptional. So again, to our friend Jennifer, just thank you for coming on the show. And to you that are listening, thank you for helping me to spread the word about amazing projects like this. So until next week, everyone, I wish you just an awesome summer. Go to the beach or your version of the beach, and I'll see you next time on Lisa, Hendey and Friends. God bless, friends. See you soon.
Breadbox Media Programming is brought to you by...
We want to help others, especially in places of strife, such as the Holy Land, where Christianity is dwindling by the day. But how to help? Here's an easy way. Buying products through the Holy Land gift shop. Every product you purchase at myfranciscan.org/shop helps Christians support their families and stay in the Holy Land. Olive wood, embroidery, spices, and many more authentic products from the Holy Land are available right now at myfranciscan.org/shop. The Holy Land Gift Shop, bringing the Holy Land home.
Thank you for listening to Breadbox Media. Find more about us at breadboxmedia.com.